This is part 2 of the Binance Saga. As the story continues to unveil, I'm going to break down exactly what this means for crypto, exactly what the entire attack on Binance is in general, what's going to happen from there, and also how this involves major player Blackrock, the $10 trillion asset manager, and whether or not this was the plan all along, including Coinbase, and what could happen next after this attack on Binance? Is there another player in the works? And what I believe as far as is this bullish or bearish for crypto? I'll also be showing you some charts at the end to let you know where we'll be headed from here after this story plays out. And I'll just give you one hint. I do not believe this is bearish for crypto. I want you to be able to explain this to your family over Thanksgiving dinner and tell them the mainstream media is garbage. It is not correct. All the people are going to be coming and asking you, oh, look, Binance is the next FTX. That is not what's happening here. And I'm going to explain to you exactly what's going on to help you connect the dots so you have the entire playlist of how this bull market could go and could turn out based on previous markets and what's happened in the past. So if you like that and you appreciate that, smash that like button, subscribe, share this with other people you think need to know the details of what's actually happening from an insider. I consider myself to be an insider, at least closer than most to what's happening, maybe not behind the curtain, but I've been on the ground with the team. I've had a lot of conversations with them, and I've formulated some opinions based on what I've seen, as well as what CZ has been saying all along, the CEO of Binance. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I'm your host, Megan Nilsson, aka Crypto Megan, and let's go. So before getting into this, I want to make one thing clear. This market will do its best to shake you out. It will test your conviction. It will make you frustrated. It will make you angry. It will make you question your very beliefs. But if you remain focused, this market will reward you financially with generational wealth. I truly believe so. And even further than that, a sense of purpose, of belonging, a feeling of freedom. I mean, we are fighting for so much here. So do not ever let any of the news shake you out. I'll be with you every step of the way. And with that being said, now let's get right into it. So I'm really excited for today's episode because in further digging and investigation of this, I was able to connect a lot of the dots that I want you guys all to be aware of, because the mainstream media is not a good source of information. In fact, I never watch the news. I go on Twitter, I go straight to the sources, but the news is just so skewed. And so you can spin up in a narrative at the snap of a finger. I mean, it's just so easy. So I want to keep you guys informed on what's really going on. You guys get the real information. So just to catch you up to speed, in case you didn't know already, it's all over the news. Binance's CZ pleads guilty to violating anti-money laundering requirements. So not CZ himself, but Binance, the platform, and CZ is basically taking the hit for this one. And he steps down as CEO of the crypto exchange, so he's no longer the CEO. Here's a few details. They reportedly agreed to step down as CEO of the crypto exchanges as the U.S. Department of Justice prepares to announce that it has secured $4.3 billion settlement with the company. So according to Wall Street Journal, CZ intends to plead guilty to several charges. And I detailed those yesterday, so go check out yesterday's episode if you want more detail on that. And the important part is that a lot of the mainstream media left out is, although the deal would allow CZ to retain his majority stake in Binance, indicating he likely won't face jail time as part of the plea bargain, he won't be allowed to hold an executive position at the company. So mainstream media is reporting doom and gloom, and I'll prove this in a minute, about, oh, CZ is going to jail, it's all over, he can get a cell next to Sam Bankman-Fried from FTX, and that is just not the case. CZ is not a U.S. citizen. Binance is not run in the U.S. It doesn't operate in the U.S. None of that is likely at all. And, in all likelihood, he actually pled guilty to this so that Binance could continue on functioning without him and, took the hit. I'm going to explain exactly how I think this went down and why I think it's been planned, or at least, thought of before. That Binance had a plan for if this occurred, because, a lot of exchanges have been forced to operate in gray areas. And so instead of just saying, hey, I'm not going to do this, I'll avoid this, or I'll leave, they tried to operate, do the best they could, and they have some rainy day funds or, runway money to get them through situations like this. I think it was probably something like that, but in no way do I consider this anything anywhere near what FTX was. It is not commingling of customer funds and a Ponzi scheme or spending customer funds. In fact, that is not named anywhere in these allegations. They aren't insolvent, according to all of the news outlets. All that is charged here is just anti-money laundering regulation. Is that because they didn't have a thorough KYC in the very beginning? And a lot of reasons. But bottom line is, the SEC does not want them messing around in the US anymore. And some would speculate that they're not about to go and launch the Bitcoin spot ETF in the US, having Binance as the main player in the industry. So I'm going to unpack all that and more. Stay tuned for this as we are going to get right into it. Now, here is what mainstream media, Forbes, reported. And by the way, anybody can pay to be in Forbes. So people say that they've been featured in Forbes. Some of them are legitimate, but a lot of them have paid for it. And so that kind of really skews things, right? Forbes reported yesterday, because of the crimes committed, Binance becomes the largest cryptocurrency exchange in the world. Merrick Garland, the U.S. Attorney General, said during a press conference, now Binance has paid one of the largest corporate penalties in the U.S. In this unprecedented action to hold Binance accountable for violations of U.S. anti-money laundering laws. So you can see already just in the wordage how different it is even from just crypto media outlets, right? And this is an important point. So this is what the mainstream is seeing, and they are getting scared. Maybe that is the whole point. Let's scare them out of not using Binance and drive them toward U.S. compliant exchanges, which, let's face it, there aren't a whole lot anymore. They're all under attack, including Kraken, which only leaves Coinbase, who has coincidentally been named the main partner or the partner of Blackrock for custodial purposes, etc. So this is all kind of lining up to be like the US wants to have all its ducks in a row before it approves the Bitcoin ETF and to have more control over what's happening in the industry. So check out what mainstream media is saying.
And for more, we're joined by Bloomberg's Hannah Miller. When you look at this guilty plea coming from the head of the world's largest crypto exchange, weeks after the Sam Bankman-Fried trial ended, how much of a cloud is there over the industry still?
It's yet another stunning blow to the crypto industry. CZ is the biggest name in crypto right now. Binance is the largest crypto exchange by trading volume in the world. So this is a major hit for an industry that's just been beset by scandals and scams.
Oh, I just can't take this, you guys. I can't take this. I can't take this doom and gloom scenario. It's just like totally skewed. They don't get into any kind of detail or explain how it's different from FTX at all. And mainstream media sees this and they freak out. They freak out and they panic. Not you, though. You are not the average Joe on this channel. If you're here listening to these streams, it's because you want to go above and beyond and you want to be exceptional. And part of being exceptional is going outside the box, thinking outside the box, and being able to connect the dots for yourself and think for yourself. So right on. Next up. This actually happened recently in recent history. And the reason why I bring this up is because it's kind of telling of what we can expect out of this whole Binance lawsuit. Former Bitmex CEO Arthur Hayes, who I think is brilliant, he has a brilliant mind, sentenced to 2 years probation after he pleaded guilty to one count of violating the Bank Secrecy Act, which is one of the charges against CZ and Binance, and faced a sentence of up to 12 months in prison, but he ended up doing 2 years probation and I think 6 months house arrest. So he was a lot smaller than CZ, and that was his fate. And I'm going to show you a chart at the end, which I showed yesterday, of exactly what happened to crypto after Bitmex was attacked and the CEO of Bitmex, Arthur Hayes, stepped down. Next up. Now this is really where our attention is focused. Do you really think that taking down the #1 crypto exchange was not part of their plan all along? It's what I just talked about. The SEC does not like that this Wild West exchange, as they deem it, that they have no control over, is the largest cryptocurrency exchange in the whole world. I mean, they don't like that. They're going into this. They want to have more regulation. And so I'm not, CZ has also infamously said he's not against regulation. He's not against government. They want to be compliant. It's hard to be compliant when there are no rules. There are no clear laws. So I'm not against them regulating. I do think there is an element here of control and wanting to be the only ones who control that in the US narrative. And I mean, FTX was gunning for that position, and they ended up being a huge criminal Ponzi scheme. And so they got taken down. And so now Coinbase has taken over their spot. And it's kind of like this shuffling of musical chairs, but just one thing clear, just because Binance isn't is not going to be able to operate in the US. I mean, it's not an end all be all in the US. Cryptocurrency is worldwide. That's the beauty of it. XRP got delisted from Coinbase. Did it disappear? Did it go away? Absolutely not. I mean, we are trading on a world scale 24/7. So things are different now, and we're not totally dependent on the US market. Next up, more on what I said about Coinbase being BlackRock's chosen one, right? BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF filing names Coinbase as surveillance sharing partner. So they have named Coinbase as a potential partner for many things, including custodial services. And here's just kind of like a meme going around. I want to make sure you guys can see this. We got him, Gary. Approve the Bitcoin ETF. It's like BlackRock, they have $10 trillion of assets under management. Like it or not, believe it or not, they are in control of a lot more than we may think on the financial, in the financial world. So this is not, something that's completely out of bounds here. Like, this could be happening on some level in the background. And now I'm going to play a video on you from Joe Rogan, from Joe Rogan's podcast, explaining just how powerful BlackRock is. Have a listen.
Soros, State Street, Vanguard, BlackRock, they're pretty much running everything.
Yeah.
S&P 500, 88% of the companies on S&P 500, 88% of them, the largest shareholder of those companies is either State Street, BlackRock, or Vanguard. These guys essentially have a monopoly. Well, how big is BlackRock? $10 trillion. How big is $10 trillion? Only 2 countries have a bigger GDP than what BlackRock has, assets under management, US and China. They have that much control to get everybody to do what they want them to do? Yes. They got the kind of control that can make companies fire boards, they can replace CEOs, they can replace leaders if they don't like. Larry Fink.
So there you have it. I mean, that is just how powerful BlackRock is. So we need to be aware of that. We just need to be aware of that when we're now stepping into these waters. And like I mentioned earlier, Bitcoin is getting plugged into Wall Street. So there are a lot of pros about that, and there are some cons, right? The pros are that we get this incredible amount of liquidity unlocked. The floodgates will open up for trillions of dollars to enter this market. That's amazing. Will mature as an asset class, but there will be a lot of elements that will be pain points for crypto, but nothing we can't handle. So I'm going to bounce around a lot, try to keep up, try to stay in the narrative. I know this is going to be a long episode, but it's jam-packed full of really good information that you must understand to know exactly where we're headed next, okay? So bear with me. CZ put this out after he stepped down. Today, I stepped down as CEO of Binance. Admittedly, it was not easy to let go emotionally, but I know it's the right thing to do. I made mistakes and I must take responsibility. So he's taken the fall here. He's taken a hit, clearly, so Binance can continue to thrive, and they've reached this agreement with the US, and, that's what it is. Binance is no longer a baby. It's time to let it walk and run. I know Binance will continue to grow and excel with the deep bench it has. So then he announced that the new president or the new CEO is Richard Tang, our now former global head of regional markets, seemingly very competent person who's already been working within the organization. And then we have here, I'm confident the best days for Binance and the crypto industry lay ahead. So they're just trying to put out a whole lot of optimism, trying to put on a good face, and that's what CZ has done exceptionally well. Whether you like him or not, he has been the face behind the brand all the way. He's been out there. He's put himself out there. He seems to be a bright person. Obviously, he has some kind of business sense if he was able to build the biggest exchange in the world. And, they're very focused on community building and trying to not fall behind. And so that's one of the things they have done very well. My personal experience with them has been good with the team. Like I said, I know the team personally, and I've actually been helping them with some things, even in the sense of community building. So I see their effort to kind of continually disrupt themselves, so to speak. You'll see why that's important in a minute. So I will take a break first. I have had not one single real day off for the last 6.5 years. I mean, that's what it is to be a founder, to do something of this magnitude. I can't see myself being a CEO driving a startup again. I'm content being a one-shot lucky entrepreneur. Humble. Should there be listeners, I may be open to being a coach or mentor to a small number of upcoming entrepreneurs privately. If nothing else, that I can at least tell them what not to do. Pretty cool. I think this is pretty cool. On that note, I'm proud to point out that in our resolutions with the U.S. agencies, they do not allege that Binance misappropriated any user funds. Very important. Get this through your mind and make sure you tell everybody this is what happened with FTX. This did not happen with Binance, and they settled on a different charge. It is not the Ponzi scheme that FTX was. Do not allege that Binance engaged in any market manipulation. I look forward to seeing how the new leadership takes reign. So all in all, positive. CZ is accepting that this is his fate, stepping down. And then I do kind of like this because I'm a very passionate person, and I know it probably does kill him to have to step down from his leadership role. So let's just all take a minute. CZ at Binance right now.
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not fucking leaving! The show goes on! This is my home! They're gonna need a fucking wrecking ball!
Okay, so just a little fun here. I'm sure that's what he's thinking inside. It's important that we laugh and that we stay positive. I don't want you guys to get sucked in by the doom and the gloom, so that's just a little bit of lighthearted fun there. Here is some message from the new president and CEO, Richard Tang, of Binance. So he's just highlighting all of Binance's achievements. We operate the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange by volume, the trust placed on us by our 150 million users, no small feat, and thousands of employees, the responsibility that I take seriously and hold dear. Okay. And then he's pointing out the fundamentals of our business are very strong. So reassuring people that they aren't going down anytime soon. This is not Binance going down. Don't get it twisted. Binance continues to operate the world's largest crypto exchange by volume. Our capital structure is debt-free. Expenses are modest, and despite the low fees we charge our users, we have robust revenues and profits. And that's absolutely true. Like I said, when all is said and done, the reason why I respect Binance as a business model is last bull market, FTX, first of all, was a huge red flag to me. I never use them because of the way that they threw money around. That's always a red flag to me, just throwing funds around like there's no tomorrow. Crypto.com also did it. And as you can see, this is no FUD against Crypto.com or whatever, but they've been pretty silent throughout the bear market. And when you run out of funds, it's tough. And Binance has always said, we want to have a runway to get us through. We're not rookies. We know what it takes. We know what happens in these bear markets. And that's the kind of exchange that will stand the test of time. I don't know what will happen to Binance in the future. Actually, I'll show you a clip now of what CZ believes. And I've actually had this discussion with some of their employees. But they've got a runway to be able to pay for things that happen along the way. And that's what you need to do as a business like this. So bank fines. This just also gets to me because the banks have been slapped on the wrist hundreds of times for violating countless acts. And I'm not saying that they should be able to or that it's okay. But what I'm saying is that the banks are the biggest criminals of all. And there's no talks of this. It's not like, oh, the banking industry is over. No, because the government bails them out every single time. And here are some of the biggest fines, the biggest 14 compliance fines in U.S. history. Binance falls 7th on this list. So, but as you can see here, this is just the revenue they've made in the last couple of years. 2020, $5.5 billion. In 2021, $20 billion. So okay, it's a hit, but it's not going to end them. Most likely they will go on and they will reinvent themselves. Here is a video from CZ, and I actually spoke about this about a year ago because I found this interview and I found it to be interesting. It's like he was already planning for what's next, and that's what all great leaders do, is they think about what is coming next and how can we get in position to make ourselves, part of that competition and continue to reinvent ourselves. Check it out.
Let's say there was a DEX coming out somewhere. Aren't you worried about some new tech coming along, like a DEX, like a decentralized exchange coming along and sort of taking your business?
Yeah, absolutely. We're very worried. So that's specifically why we invest very heavily in DEXs. So if something is going to disrupt ourselves, we should be the ones investing in those very heavily, so that when hopefully we will be the ones disrupting ourselves. So I fully believe in 5, 10, 20, 15, 20 years, DEX is going to be bigger than centralized exchanges.
So that's it. I'm not going to play this entire clip, but he is saying that he believes that decentralized exchanges will be bigger than centralized exchanges. And this is a year ago when that wasn't really so much of a thing. It's just like people couldn't comprehend that. But CZ's been thinking that for a very long time. So possibly that's a direction that, Binance will head. And he's saying they're heavily invested in these. We'll see how they evolve, but I think all of these elements are what sets it apart from the FTXs of the world. So that's just food for thought there. But then we have here from Altcoin Daily, CZ tried to save people from FTX and even helped bring SBF to justice. He is now sacrificing himself to save Binance crypto exchange and probably the whole Bitcoin bull run. The man is a hero. So whether you like CZ or don't, or whether you like Binance or you don't like them, they've certainly done a lot for crypto adoption and getting people involved in this space. And this is something that they can attest to. And also, yes, they were the ones responsible for the beginning of tipping off the world of what the Ponzi scheme was of the FTX whole fiasco. So this is not to say that Binance is the end all be all and the best in the world, but they've done a lot of positive things. And I hope it continues to be that way throughout the coming years. And we have here CZ giving signs ahead of time that possibly he was going to resign. Investors and founders don't always align. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. To be fair, no two-person can always be 100% aligned. I am both founder and investor. Knowing when to let go of control of a company you founded is one of the trickiest decisions. So a lot of people are saying that that was kind of like a precursor to what he was going to announce yesterday as stepping down from the company. He was talking about Sam Altman from OpenAI. And then you can see here that Binance actually did transfer $3.9 billion in USDT from its cold to hot wallets a few days ago, probably in preparation for what was going to be announced. So back to how BlackRock controls a very large portion, not only of the world's money, but also of the S&P 500. So here this says, BlackRock and or Vanguard are among the 3 largest institutional investors for 505 out of 505 of the S&P 500. One or the other is the single largest institutional investor in 422 of these. So that's crazy. You just scroll down and you see Microsoft, Apple, Alphabet, Amazon, Facebook, Tesla, and here you see Vanguard, number 1 largest investor. BlackRock, second largest investor, and vice versa in a lot of cases. I mean, they really do control a lot of what's happening in the U.S. economy in some way or another. It's really kind of astounding to see. And then you go here, top 10 owners of Coinbase, which, by the way, may or may not, so don't take this as financial advice, but if you were wanting to invest in stocks for like a less risky investment, less risky than crypto, for example, or if you want to sit at the Thanksgiving table and be like, hey, you want to get some exposure to crypto, Coinbase stock might be a good idea right about now. Of course, we don't know about the timing of that, and we don't try to time the market, but just as far as, where Coinbase is poised to go on a national level in the US, they basically killed all other exchanges, and Coinbase is the chosen one, and so it's a very interesting play in my opinion. So we've got here top 10 owners of Coinbase: Vanguard, ARK Invest, Nikko Asset Management, BlackRock, Fidelity. I mean, some big players in this that are the top 10 owners. It's all kind of starting to make sense now as we connect the dots to what's actually happening and why the US is on this crusade. It's not just about enforcing US government and laws, which is important. It's also seems to be about having this agenda to be able to control this environment and not wanting Binance to be the number one player as the US goes in to approve the Bitcoin ETFs. So here we have BlackRock files for Bitcoin ETF application leveraging Coinbase custody. So again, just more on how they are the chosen one. BlackRock has filed an application for a spot Bitcoin ETF utilizing Coinbase custody and spot market data to enhance accessibility for institutional investors. So on that news, then we've got a lot of speculation going on. This is from Travis on Twitter. Lots of chatter on this BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, and rightfully so. BlackRock, more or less, is the US government. Well, okay, so some may say we're getting into tinfoil hat, conspiracy theories, but just hear them out. They've also received approval on 575 out of 576 of ETF applications. Not a bad hit rate, if you do ask me. One thing I'll say, there is no chance, and I mean zero, that this ETF is approved with Binance in its current position of market dominance. If this ETF is approved, Binance is either gone entirely or their role in price discovery is massively diminished. If Binance holds on to its current level of influence, no chance this ETF is approved. So I don't entirely agree with him. I think that, I know, because I live outside the US, that crypto exists outside the US. As I said before, XRP was delisted from Coinbase. It didn't stop it from trading and thriving and continuing to, have investors from around the world. So I don't think that by any means this would be cause for Binance to just lose all of its, interest completely at all. I think it'll continue to exist and thrive in other areas of the world. And, but that being said, I do believe that, of course, they want the dominant US player to be Coinbase and that they want that, at least their scheme of things, to be under their control. And here we have Paul Grill on Twitter. I'm watching the Binance news too. While we wait for a DOJ announcement, a reminder, crypto isn't going anywhere. So guys, let's just rein it all in and come back to the positivity. I'm an internal optimist and I believe in this space hands down, like more conviction than I've ever had, if that's even possible. I know where this is going and I'm in this for the long haul, and I'm just so happy to be here. Regardless of what happens, we will get through it. But to create a thriving crypto economy in the US, we need clear, sensible regulations so American consumers have access to secure domestic crypto services. Okay, that's fair. The US regulation by enforcement only approach has only increased consumer risk and driven customers and innovation out of the country. Legislation is essential for safeguarding consumers and fostering a responsible marketplace in America. 3, Coinbase has a long-running strategy of prioritizing compliance with local and international laws, even if it slows growth or increases costs. This reminds me of one of my favorite crypto projects called Cardano. They're very slow movers, but they're really trying to do it methodically and correctly. And, if there is a way to do it correctly with the SEC, although there are no clear guidelines, so it is near impossible at this point. But Coinbase, so they're trying to position themselves, and they have been from the start. Trust at the core of our mission. This hits hard. This hits home to me because I also have this experience as I, switch to digital now and try to help all of you on YouTube. My number one mission is to provide you with the best information possible and to continue with the trust that I have in the physical world at these conferences that I'm at and speaking at, to portray that trust to you, because if we don't have trust, we have nothing. And so that is so important to me, even if I grow more slowly than others. If you appreciate that, do me a favor and share this content. Throw a like on this, hit the subscribe button, and join in on this, because I will strive to continue to do this day in and day out, no matter how tough it gets, no matter how many hours I have to put into it. I want to do this. I want to be here for you guys in the best way possible. So it's truly an honor to be able to have this as one of my callings and my missions. So sorry for that rant. Strategy of prioritizing. Trust is the core of our mission. We're earning the trust of a global community that recognizes the potential of crypto for economic freedom and opportunity, and we're committed to growing at the speed of trust to updating the financial system. So then you have right underneath it, Crypto Wendy O. Crypto is in fact leaving the US. Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are. A lot of them are petrified and scared to touch anything in the US, but hopefully that'll change after we have more clear regulation. This is it's already a long video, I know, but I told you I was going to really go deep on this one. So if you're still here, kudos to you. You're going to have a lot to talk about at the Thanksgiving dinner table. So this is the Brian Armstrong, the co-founder and CEO at Coinbase. Since the founding of Coinbase back in 2012, we have taken a long-term view. I knew we needed to embrace compliance, become a generational company that stood the test of time. We got the licenses, hired compliance. So he's saying that he put in all this work to really be there for when his moment was to shine. And now all that hard work is paying off. This meant we couldn't always move quickly as others. It's more difficult and expensive to take a compliant approach. You can't launch every product that customers want when it's illegal, but it's the right approach. So he kind of said this on the backs of CZ's announcement as that he was stepping down. A little bit of a jab here, but he has his own strategy, his own positioning, and his own agenda. But I do like Brian Armstrong. I think he also stood up to the SEC, and I do like him and what he's fighting for as well. Today's news reinforces that doing it the hard way was the right decision. We now have an opportunity to start a new chapter for the industry. We took a lot of arrows operating here in the US due to lack of regulatory clarity, the number one problem that's been going on the whole time. And my hope is that today's news serves as a catalyst to finally achieve that. Americans should not have to go to offshore unregulated exchanges to benefit from this technology. This industry should be built right here in America in a compliant way under US law. We're going to stay here in the US because we believe in economic freedom and that the US democratic system will eventually get this right. Decentralization in crypto is a powerful tool to update the financial system and build a global economy with more economic freedom. We're just getting started. That I can agree on. We are just getting started. And, he's sticking it out. And they have the pockets to stick it out. Again, it's not entirely democratic in that, if you're a company that wants to set up and thrive in the US and you don't have these deep pockets to fight any battles you might have to endure during this regulatory clarity period, then you'll go under. And that doesn't seem fair. But he's now the number one player in the US, and we'll see how that plays out. I think it'll go well for them. Now we have, with CZ and Binance now removed out of the picture, the SEC can now get the green light to spot ETF, allow BlackRock, Fidelity, Invesco, and other major players to take over control. This is how the game is played. Except for this Twitter user is missing one important point. There's still one elephant in the closet, one unaddressed problem in the room, and that is Tether. Tether has always been a topic of conversation, and we know that the U.S. is over there thinking about a stable coin that is pegged to the dollar that could be competition in so many ways to what they're trying to build. There is no way they're going to let that go without a fight as well. So that's my thoughts. I think that they might try to do something with Tether. Other X users have been talking about this. Tether going down would have a huge impact on this market. If Tether got their books in check and backed up assets are solvent, we should be okay. But I know the people pulling the strings behind closed doors want USDC backed by BlackRock to be the dominant stablecoin, and USDC Circle is owned by Coinbase, and they have their own agenda there with a regulated stablecoin within their control that they're going to be much more bullish on. And so, I think there is a move here to be made after this that we may see coming in the very near future. Here we go. Prediction. Tether is next, then magically ETFs will be approved. So they're basically saying we need to get all this out of the way, address it all at once, and then move on with our bull run. The only question is, what effect will this Tether thing have on the market? And here are my thoughts on that. I think that Tether has existed for a very long time, and a lot of people use them. They have very large liquidity. They are offshore. We don't know exactly what they hold and how they're backed. However, again, crypto is not just the US. So if Coinbase were to delist Tether, for example, and not trade Tether pairs anymore, it would be a hit to the market in that a lot of people are in Tether and they're using that stable coin, and it might cause some turmoil in the most immediate future. But again, the same thing happened with XRP. It probably wasn't as impactful if it were to be Tether, USDT, as it is XRP, because many more people hold Tether. But, if they delist it, the world goes on. There is trading worldwide, not just in the US, and other people from around the world will most likely continue to use Tether if Tether doesn't go down altogether. There is a scenario where that could happen if, they start poking holes and things aren't, backed one-to-one, whatever. But for now, I think that the most likely case scenario is that maybe they could go after it and delist it from Coinbase, and we would move on from there. So that's kind of like my hypothesis. Again, 20 to 50% correction in Bitcoin will come. I'll say it every single episode, so you're not surprised when it happens. And when it does, we'll be ready for it. It could be from this point. It could be from, 2 months from now. It doesn't matter. At that point, I'll repeat again, show me the charts and I'll tell you the news. So we're prepared either way. I do think that might be the last straw to break the camel's back or last card they have to play, whatever you want to call it. All right. So just be prepared if there's some narratives that float around there, but we're not going to wait for it, get afraid of it, stay on the sidelines because of it. We're going to continue to do our thing in dollar cost average. And that's how you win at this game, at this market. So here we have, and I want to remind you again, this is the 200-day to Bitcoin halving countdown of almost daily videos. Sometimes they travel and it's impossible and it's hard, but almost daily videos to keep you up to date and help you win. So here's a reminder. The first Bitcoin spot ETF is coming in 49 days. So here we have it. The next date we have is January 10th, 2024 for ARK Invest. And it's going to be big. It's going to be big, guys. It's a very, very high percentage of approval rate. As you saw before, I think BlackRock's hit rate was 575 out of 576 ETF requests approved. So yeah, we're headed there. It's just how do we get there? What does that look like? And I've gone over that many times. And all signs point to, bull run will go on and we could have a dip. And that's it. And that's my conclusion. So speaking of conclusions, here's what happened after the gold ETF was launched. I know you've probably seen this in other places, but I want to remind you of what kind of impact this could have on the market. So here's gold when it was launched back then. And as you can see, it went on a parabolic run for a very long time after being more or less suppressed throughout the years. So it was huge. It was really big for gold, amounting in a 346% run up. And for an asset like Bitcoin, could it do the same? Absolutely. And here we have that would put Bitcoin at 138,000. So could we see something similar? Yeah, we could. We most definitely could with the buy pressure coming in. Only approximately 2 million Bitcoin on exchanges at the moment, and a very, very small percentage, like under 1% of BlackRock's total assets under management would pretty much buy up all the Bitcoin on exchanges right now. So yeah, be prepared. This is going to have a massive impact on the market for sure. Here's just like a more visual of it going like parabolically up after the ETF was launched. And as you can see, there was a period where it kind of went sideways and then it held no prisoners. It just boom, shot up, which is why you need to be invested and ready beforehand. Finally, I'm coming to the end. I promise this is the conclusion. Okay. As we approach what appears to be the worst kept secret in blockchain, will the launch of a spot Bitcoin ETF be a buy the rumor, sell the news event? I share my long explanation here. I'll summarize my thoughts below. So let's just look at the summary. The old Wall Street adage worked literally perfectly in the last two big regulatory announcements in our space. The day CME futures went live, December 18, 2017, was the peak at 20K. The price fell 65% immediately and 84% at ultimate lows. The day Coinbase listed at April 14, 2021, 65K Bitcoin, the price fell 54% immediately and 76% at ultimate lows. So this time is different, is not usually an auspicious way to begin. I believe it here. Neither of those events had any impact on real-world asset Bitcoin, access to Bitcoin. It was all about buy the rumor, sell the news. So basically what he's saying here is that this probably most likely won't be a sell the news event. It'll probably be the catalyst that sends Bitcoin into, the next bull run. Again, we're already there on the charts, but it's that one piece of news that kicks things off, right? Because they actually have to buy real world assets. It's not just paper IOU notes anymore like it has been in the past. They have to physically buy the Bitcoin off exchanges, and that creates supply shock, which, can send Bitcoin to very high prices. So this is exciting times, guys. Very exciting times. And as we wrap this up, I'll leave you with this in my conclusion. Binance de-risking is one of the biggest catalysts we could have in crypto. Crypto is a real industry post $4 billion settlement. CZ takes a long-needed Miami vacation a la Arthur Hayes from Bitmex, what he did after he stepped down and he had the same problem. Market rips higher, ETFs approved in January, GOP wins 2024 election, crypto laws passed, and happily ever after. Kudos to you, CZ, down here, okay? So that's kind of like, the optimistic look at this. After this all happened, what happened to Bitcoin? Did it tank? Did we go down massively? No, here we are. This is not an updated chart, but it's a cleaned up chart so you can see. We're still in the same rising wedge, in the same predicament we've been in. 68% chance that we break down out of this and we could see $33,000, $30,000 Bitcoin. Wouldn't be the end of the world. And if we do break up from here, it's usually a parabolic move. It's against the odds. We could see $42,000 to $44,000 Bitcoin. So, we didn't have this massive panic drop. It is not the FTX situation. And we're still on par and on track to have our bull run. And it is why is it bullish? So the absolute conclusion of all this, it's bullish because we are clearing up loose ends. There are no more of those like elephants in the room of what happens when this is addressed, or is it possible that this exchange could go down, or what happens if this. Those are all being addressed, and we're getting more and more clarity. And if there's one thing that markets love and thrive on, it's clarity. Regulatory clarity, market clarity, not having any kind of what ifs or risks in the background, and that's what allows markets to thrive. And here is the chart that I showed yesterday from right after the Bitmex CEO Arthur Hayes leaves his role after the US charges him with the same charge of anti-money laundering. And it ripped. The bull market ripped. So you can sit down tomorrow at your Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, pre-Thanksgiving, by the way. And you can tell all of your friends and family that we are very bullish, that now is a great time to learn, to start to understand what's going on in these markets and potentially start your investment strategy. I'm dollar cost averaging. I know a lot of you watching are, and we're going to continue to do our thing. So thank you so much for being here today, and I'll see you tomorrow.